snow is everywhere you turn, and you can see the weight of it on the trees behind me.
It has been, you know, Paula, something different about this storm compared to the last one.
Wow, look at that. It's not even close to high tide yet. I live down on Lighthouse, and I'm...
What if I told you that in just 48 hours, a single storm buried the most densely populated corridor in the entire United States, shattered records that had stood for nearly 50 years, knocked out power for over 600,000 homes, and grounded more than 8,000 flights? This is the story of the blizzard of 2026, and what really happened along the I-95 corridor in February. The Northeast had seen bad winters before.
Hey there, well, snow is everywhere you turn, and you can see the weight of it on the trees behind me. New York City issuing a rare travel ban through noon today to keep people off the roads and at home and safe. It's the combination of those really strong wind gusts.
Blizzard of 78. The 96 Noreaster. Winter Storm Juno in 2015. But what formed off the Carolina coast on the morning of February 22, 2026, was something the region had not truly experienced in a generation. Meteorologists gave it a name, Winter Storm Hernando. The public would come to call it something simpler, the blizzard of 2026. From Washington, D.C. and Baltimore, all the way up through Philadelphia, Newark, New York City, Hartford, Providence, Boston, and Portland, Maine, 13 states and the nation's capital found themselves directly in the crosshairs. Hundreds of millions of people. One single storm. But here's what made this different from every other snowstorm you've ever seen. This wasn't just a nor'easter. This was a bomb. It started 2 days before the snow even fell. On February 20th, the National Weather Service issued the first winter storm watches for the coastal Northeast. Forecasters had spotted a developing surface low off the Carolinas, and the models were in frightening agreement. By February 22nd, that low had made its move. It began crawling northeast along the coast, pulling in cold Arctic air from the north and warm Atlantic moisture from the south, the perfect ingredients for explosive development. And then, the bomb dropped. Not figuratively. Literally. In meteorology, a bomb
is textbook nor'easter/blizzard, and it's been the biggest one we've probably had in 10 years, encompassing so much of the I-95 corridor. This is the water vapor, measures the amount of moisture in the air.
Cyclone is defined when a storm's central pressure drops by 24 millibars in 24 hours. Winter Storm Hernando didn't just meet that threshold, it obliterated it, dropping a staggering 41 millibars in 24 hours. Its central pressure crashed to 965 millibars. That is the kind of rapid intensification you normally see in tropical hurricanes, not February nor'easters. Snow began falling across New Jersey and New England on the evening of February 22nd. By morning on the 23rd, blizzard conditions had been declared from New Jersey all the way to New England. That means sustained winds over 35 miles per hour. Visibility under a quarter mile.
We're dealing with about 24 inches of snow.
The morning of February 23rd will go down in the history
conditions,
books.
so less than a quarter mile of visibility and winds in some places,
snow was
especially
falling
the
at
airport,
rates of 1
about
to 3 inches per hour in the hardest hit areas. Not a light dusting. Not a few inches. 3 inches every single hour. Wind gusts along the coast were measured at 60 to 70 miles per hour. The same speed as a Category 1 hurricane. Trees were snapping. Power lines were collapsing.
We had that February snowfall in 2003 of 27.6 inches. In January of 2015, which we have some images there, we had 24.4 inches.
The lights were going out across the Northeast. And somewhere in Providence, Rhode Island, a snow gauge was reading numbers nobody had ever seen before in that city. When the storm finally cleared, Providence recorded 37.9 inches of snow, shattering the previous all-time record of 28.6 inches, which had been set during the legendary blizzard of 1978. A record that stood for 48 years, gone in one night. In New York City, 19.7 inches buried Central Park, the ninth largest snowfall on record for the city, and the biggest single storm total in a decade. Long Island measured 24 inches. Hartford and Newark were buried under 18 to 30 inches. Even Boston recorded 20 to 24 inches under sustained blizzard conditions. But the worst was not the snow alone. Think about the I-95 corridor for a moment. It is the single most traveled highway in the United States. It connects Washington, D.C. to Boston, running through the heart of America's most densely populated region. On a normal February weekend,
Monmouth County Sheriff told us yesterday that if this storm is anything like the one they saw in '96, then they have quite the day ahead of them. You can see the wind continues to blow. These gusts have been getting stronger throughout the morning. And I just want to show you, because of the wind, it's been hard to get a sense of how much snow has fallen here in Long Branch. Here on the boardwalk, it's really...
Tens of millions of people, cars, trains, and planes move through this corridor. On February 23, 2026, it stopped. All of it. Over 8,000 flights were canceled or disrupted. Every major airport along the corridor, Boston Logan, JFK, LaGuardia, Newark, Philadelphia, BWI, was either shut down or operating at a fraction of capacity. Travelers were stranded. Terminals packed with people who had nowhere to go. The Northeast Corridor Amtrak service, the most heavily used rail line in North America, was suspended. No trains between Washington and Boston. None. On the roads, travel bans were issued across Connecticut, New York.
Here in Rhode Island, this blizzard is shattering records. Providence getting more than 30 inches of snow, the most it's ever seen.
The Noreaster crippling air, rail, and roadway travel in one of the most populated corridors of the
New York, New Jersey, and beyond. Police were ordering people off the highways. But for many drivers already on the road when conditions deteriorated, there was no getting off. Cars were buried where they stopped. Highways became parking lots buried under feet of snow. And then the lights started going out. At peak, more than 600,000 customers lost power across Massachusetts, Rhode Island, Connecticut, New York, and New Jersey. In the middle of February, in sub-zero wind chills, families huddled together in dark, freezing homes, waiting for crews who couldn't even get to them through the snow. Emergency calls flooded 911 centers. The National Guard...
Well, if you're flying out of Washington Reagan Airport, you can fly south, no problem. You're not going to be able to fly north. In fact, nothing has been going into or out of the Northeast all day. Here are the latest numbers. We've at the moment got about 5,700 flight cancellations nationwide. That's according to FlightAware. And then when you're looking at the delays, we're at about 2,900 delays. You add how many flight cancellations we had yesterday, we're now up to about 9,100 flight cancellations.
Was activated across multiple states. Coast Guard units were deployed for coastal rescues as storms surged and flooding battered New Jersey, New York, and New England shorelines. So how does this happen? How does a storm go from a surface low off the Carolinas to the most powerful nor'easter in nearly 30 years, in less than 48 hours? Mike Betts of the Weather Channel put it plainly. The blizzard of 2026 won't soon be forgotten. A true bomb cyclone, dropping 41 millibars in 24 hours. And he's right. Here's the science behind the number. When a storm drops 24 millibars in 24 hours, meteorologists call it bombogenesis, explosive cyclogenesis. This storm dropped 41 millibars. That is almost double the bomb threshold. What caused it? A perfect collision. A powerful Arctic air mass plunging down from Canada.
Thank you for having me on. Greatly appreciated. We are monitoring the entire state from our statewide emergency operations center. We are seeing a widespread 12 to 24, monitoring our hardest hit areas and getting them all the assets. As far as our travel ban right now, we extended it out. We had it only going till 7 a.m. this morning.
A deep jet stream dip creating a favorable upper air pattern. And critically, warm, moisture-laden air rising off the Atlantic Ocean. The temperature contrast between these two air masses created an energy release that acted like a fuel pump, feeding the storm's rapid intensification. Add to that, La Nina atmospheric conditions were in play this winter, helping to steer the jet stream in precisely the pattern needed to lock this storm directly over the I-95 corridor. This wasn't bad luck. The atmosphere built this perfectly. Let's talk about what this storm actually took from people. In Providence, Rhode Island, residents woke up on February 24th to nearly 4 feet of snow. Not inches. Feet. The record that fell, 28.6 inches from the blizzard of...
I just talked to Mayor Brett Smiley, who said he wished the travel ban would have actually stayed in place because the more people on the roads, the more difficult it is to clear them. He said their priority is still the main roads and by hospitals, and he's already asked the state for help.
1978 was a record that Rhode Islanders had lived with their entire lives. Parents had told their children about it. Grandparents called it the worst they'd ever seen. In one night, it was gone. Across 13 states, schools were shut down for days. Government offices closed. Businesses shuttered. Entire cities, Boston, Providence, Hartford, Newark, New York, simply stopped functioning. The economic damage? While final figures are still being tallied, the sheer scale of shutdowns across one of the wealthiest economic regions on Earth means the losses will be counted in billions of dollars. Coastal communities from the Jersey Shore to the Massachusetts coast faced a double blow, not just record snow.
I come down 295 from the Cumberland area. I am on the overpass off 295 at the landfill because I followed a plow path that was down 295.
But storms surge and coastal flooding, with waves battering seawalls and eroding beaches. Areas that hadn't seen water in the streets since Superstorm Sandy were flooded again. And through it all, emergency workers, snowplow drivers, National Guard troops, and Coast Guard crews worked around the clock. In zero visibility. In hurricane-force gusts. In the dark. Rescuing stranded motorists. Responding to medical emergencies. Clearing a path, inch by inch, through the worst storm the Northeast had seen in decades. By February 24th, the storm began its exit. The bomb cyclone that had terrorized the I-95 corridor for nearly 48 hours finally moved offshore, leaving behind a region that looked like it had been transported to the Arctic. Recovery was slow. Power restoration crews worked through the night and into the following days. Airports began the massive task of clearing runways and rebooking thousands of stranded passengers. Snowplows, deployed in fleets across every affected state, worked non-stop to reopen the arteries of a region that simply cannot afford to stay still. Blizzard warnings have ended. Winter storm warnings have cleared. The Northeast is digging out. But climate scientists and meteorologists are asking a serious question. As ocean temperatures rise and Arctic air patterns become more unstable, are events like this becoming more likely? The same atmospheric ingredients that built the blizzard of 2026, warm Atlantic moisture colliding with Arctic cold, may be intensifying as the climate shifts. The blizzard of 1978 was called a once-in-a-generation storm. It held its records for 48 years. The blizzard of 2026 just broke them. How long before the next one? If you live in the Northeast, this storm is a reminder. Check your emergency kits. Know your evacuation routes. Sign up for National Weather Service alerts at weather.gov, because the next storm doesn't ask permission before it arrives. If you found this coverage useful, share this video, subscribe, and hit that notification bell. Every view helps us keep delivering real, accurate, on-the-ground storm coverage when it matters most.